5 youths born from foreign nationals who have been denied citizenship are now taking the matter to the Constitutional Court. Cecile Van Schalkwyk from the Legal Recourses Centre, who's representing them, joins us to explain what this is all about. Cecile, good evening, and thanks for your time. So, explain the issue. We understand the 5 youths are taking this matter to court. They want to appeal a judgment that ordered Home Affairs has taken the Apex Court to seek leave to appeal a judgment that ordered it to put in place regulations for the processing of citizenship applications for these 5. So what is the problem here?
So, Viveka, the main problem is that under the Citizenship Act, in 2013, there were new amendments to the Citizenship Act that allowed for children who were born in South Africa to foreign nationals who were not citizens of South Africa, of course, and who did not have permanent residency. If they were born in South Africa and they have lived in South Africa until the age of 18 and their births were registered under the Birth and Death Registrations Act, they had the opportunity to apply for citizenship. The issue came in that these youth that we are representing tried to apply once they obtained the age of 18 in South Africa, and unfortunately their applications were denied. And the argument that was made by the Department of Home Affairs was that this provision only applied to children born after the 1st of January 2013 when the amendment came into force. And those children who were born before that date did not qualify to be able to apply. So that would mean ultimately that any child born, their argument would ultimately mean that the first children who could apply in terms of this provision would have been children who would have reached the age of 18 on the 1st of January 2031.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so why 2013? Just remind us of that amendment and why this has to be the cutoff.
I mean, that is exactly what's being challenged in the courts now, that we do not have that as the cutoff, right? The reason why that date is important is because that was when the amendment to the Citizenship Act came in, which provided for children to be able to apply for citizenship if they meet these specific requirements. Unfortunately, the Department of Home Affairs took the position that that would only apply going forward, so only to children who are born after that amendment date, and it will not apply to children who were born before that amendment date but who still meet the requirements.
So explain to us the predicament that this leaves these young people in. I mean, what happens to them? What happens to their lives? Their parents are not citizens, so you know, where do they go? They've obviously come here for a reason.
Yeah. So what you must understand is they were born here, right? And citizenship is a gateway to everything. Right? So it gives not only access to, for example, education, it gives access to the right to vote. It's a gateway right, essentially. And what happens is if these children who have lived in South Africa their entire life, they've likely been schooled in South Africa, their births were registered in South Africa, but they are not citizens of this country. They will continue, this is the only country they've ever known. Most of them have never been back to their home, to the countries of their parents. So they want to make a living in South Africa, they want to make a life here, but they cannot do that unless they have some kind of documentation in the form of citizenship, for example, that would give them the ability to exercise rights.
So where does it leave them? Because they're born in this country, but they can't be considered South Africans. They weren't born in the country of their parents' origin, so they're not citizens. So who are they?
So
it
sort of leaves them in limbo, doesn't it? So, I mean, of course we know that some of them may have a claim, for example, to the citizenship of their parents' countries, right? But because they've never been there, because they've never lived there, they don't have any link to those countries. So without documentation in South Africa, it negates your rights, ultimately. It makes it very difficult for you to access basic services. It makes it very difficult for you you can't vote, for example.
Tertiary education?
Tertiary education would be very, very difficult to access. So it sort of leaves their lives, the potential that they have is unfulfilled, essentially. And that's really what citizenship does. It gives you the opportunity to fulfill the potential that you may have in this country and to contribute to our economy and to contribute to making South Africa a bit of a better place.
And Cecile, just explain to me, I mean, from my understanding, and I could be wrong, when a child is born in any other country outside of the parents' country of origin, my understanding from what I've heard so far is that these kids get that citizenship because they have been born in that country. So is that most countries? So
citizenship, it is very country dependent, right? So South Africa does not have a automatic citizenship for children who are just born in this country. There are certain, the Citizenship Act makes provision for certain scenarios, but you obtain essentially, you're supposed to obtain the citizenship of your parents, right? But we know that very often, because of migration issues, introduced because of people fleeing their home countries for whatever reason, it's not possible for these children to access the documentation to give them that kind of rights and that kind of citizenship of another country. So what sometimes happens is, I mean, these kids are also at a risk of statelessness, where it's a situation where they're in where they are not the citizens of any state.
Yeah.
And that is a very, very precarious position to be in, because you have no rights almost under any state. You really struggle to make a living when you are in a situation like that, because for anything that you need to do in this country, you need to provide documentation.
You're nobody in that country.
You're nobody.
Okay, well, I do feel for them, and we'll be watching this one, so let us know what the progress is
No problem.
in this court battle. Thank you very much.